Call the meeting to order. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk will call the roll.
Here. Here.
Here.
Here.
Here. Here.
First thing on the agenda is election of the secretary. Would someone make a motion to elect ICRC, our television produced people? Thank you, Tom. Tom, second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, they will serve as our secretary and record the meeting and the minutes of the meeting. We have decided not to have a moderator or not to have a pastor this year because of the situation. As you can see, we have a small number of people here, but I'm sure we have 3,000 watching on streaming live video, right? So I will begin with sort of a retro of the village for the last year. On the first page, we just have the annual town meeting and some pictures that went on during the year of myself and new police officer and Silco, as well as Kinetic Vision's groundbreaking, and we'll have more on that later. Next is the elected officials, and you've just heard all of them introduced by way of the roll call. The demographics of the village are same, 474 square miles. We now have 2,730 people, which is a, I think, 3 or 4 increase over last year. Slight increase. That's good. We still have a 22,000 daytime population. Some of those people are still working from home, but General Electric is still down 35% in their workforce. You have a list of, on the board, of the people, of the businesses that are here. We have not added any in the year, and they still all remain with us for the year. You also have a pretty neat picture of the Veterans Police and Fire bell tower lit up for the event to take care of disabled firemen, killed firemen who have lost their life in the line of duty. COVID for the year took its place. We have continued to compliance with state mandates and monitor it monthly. We've issued 7 memos since March of 2020, adjusting our COVID practices in public and staff officials. Social distancing is still required, as you can tell in the room tonight. We are live streaming the meeting, public access, and we do that with our council meetings as well. We've surveyed local businesses and tried to find out how many people were working at home without much success. Let me say that, I'll tell you now, if you want to call in with a question later in the evening, the number is 513 563-2240. And that will be relayed to us through James Jeffords, our engineer. The next slide sort of gives you a summary of Aero Hub project for the year. We started in 2017 with an award of $500,000 from Jobs Ohio. We adopted a master plan in 2018. We completed Aero Hub Boulevard Phase 1 in 2019. 2020, Modal Shop opened their headquarters, or it was constructed on the Aero Hub site. In 2021, Kinetic Vision broke ground on a 51,000 square foot building in July of 2021. We have since entered into a grading contract with a contractor and have substantially graded the property to the extent that it is basically pad ready, which we think is essential to attracting people to the complex. Our problem we have run into has been COVID, and also the cost of steel has risen 300%, and as such, people are very reluctant to build or to commit to build on the site. We have a lot of prospects, nobody's building. We issued the $5 million bond for infrastructure in 2021, and we hired a broker, Colliers International, to help us to sell the property. Our preferred developer remains Nair Properties. You can see where Kinetic Vision is located on the property. The Modal Shop is a 40,000 square foot headquarters completed in 2020. It's $4 million of new investment. They expect to expand eventually to 100,000 square feet on 15 plus acres. They have 60 employees to date, but COVID is also holding them back quite a bit. Kinetic Vision is a 50,000 square foot building under construction, $10 million new investment, 141 employees today, and they expect that to increase substantially when their new building is scheduled for reopening in the summer of 2022. The police firing range remains the subject of interest to the village. We have been in discussions with the city of Cincinnati and Hamilton County. The problem is that the city of Cincinnati is not willing to move the range unless they can find an alternate location. They have found one that perhaps suits their needs in Colerain Township, but the problem with that is it's an $18 million price tag. Hamilton County has indicated that they will provide $5 million toward that renovation, but the city has not willing to donate anything as yet. I think all things are on hold until after the mayoralty election and the council elections this year in the city of Cincinnati, and then maybe we can get some resolution of the problem. Down on that left-hand corner there is 5 acres that we have contracted to buy back, or to buy from the state of Ohio. It's an excess circular approach to what was the overpass. It's owned by they've indicated to us that the price tag for that would be $42,000, which we have agreed to pay. Also in 21, Silco relocated to our property. They have a $5.5 million investment. They added 40 new employees, and they now have a $5.1 million payroll on Silco's property. They have 107 employees total. I think they put up a very nice building. Most people think that it looks good, and it's a very good addition to the village of Evendale and to our tax structure. In May of 2021, we had a grand opening of Silco. In 2021, 2020, the Port Authority purchased 40 acres, 38 acres roughly, from Formica Corporation just south of their building in Evendale. The Port Authority has now acquired additional land from General Electric, which is immediately across the street from Cooper Road. And the port is in the process of designing a private bridge to cross over the Mill Creek to get back to the property. And the goal is to have it ready for redevelopment by the summer of 2023. And it can handle probably 100 to 150,000 square foot building. GE Aviation, they've reported almost a $21 million new investment in their campus in Evendale. That's compared to 2020, when they had $6 million was all of the permit fees that were required. They have a military contract, which they're working on to make something. We're not sure what, but I hope that it will have more employees. They currently are on a 3-2 basis with some employees. That means that people are working at home 2 days a week and in there 3 days a week, or vice versa. They slowly but sure, you can see the parking lot beginning to fill up over at GE Aviation. I think that it bodes well for GE, but they're still down about 35% on the year. To recap, new businesses, February 21, we had State Farm Insurance opened a business in the Evendale building over at the corner of Reading and Glendale Milford Road. 2021, we had the grand opening of Aqueduct on Exxon Drive, Exxon Avenue. This is a company that restores pools and lakes. They only have 7 employees now, but they bought this building because they expect to increase. They have 6 facilities around the state of Ohio, and they cover a number of states out of the particular building. Edder's Golf Course was purchased by new owners in September of this year. They have plans. They want to create a, something west? 50 West, with a craft brewery eventually. But right now they are in the process of clearing up the place, cleaning out a lot of junk and so forth that were in that storage bin. But the new owner, he quit his job and he's there full time. So we're hopeful. 2021 in November, Crepe World, an eatery and coffee business, opened on Reading Road, just south of P.G. Graves Road to the right. So everybody go over and forget somebody, maybe give them some business. We have 3 new residential places going up. We have Moeller Woods, $745,000 is estimated to be the cost of the building at 2,839 square feet. We have one on Cooper Road that's been under construction for a while, $699,000. And we have one on Inwood Drive, estimated cost of $400,000. So next year at this time, maybe we'll have 5 more people on our agenda. Through the Valley project is substantially done. There's some cleanup work done and a lot of punch list things, James tells me, but it's basically done. The bridge enhancements were done with the railings and so forth, and a new public road was installed, which is Aviation Way past GE, and Vision Way and Shepherd Lane overpasses replace the flyway over Evendale Drive. Griffin Nature Preserve, we have a group of volunteers trying mightily to restore that place in quite a bit, but they're suffering from a lack of people interested in it. As far as the Duke pipeline is concerned, we went through years of fights and litigation with Duke Pipeline, and eventually the Ohio Supreme Court said that they could go ahead and build the pipeline. The problem was they were already 70% done with the pipeline by the time the Supreme Court gave its opinion. They commenced the project in the spring of 2021, and they expect the project to be complete very soon. The one interesting thing is that Glendale Milford Road has now been will be totally repaved, and James Jeffords, our engineer, including restructuring of gutters and downspout places and things like that. Our engineer tells me that it's worth $700,000 that we got in a free repaving job now that the pipeline is done. So that's the extent of my report, and I will turn it over to Councilperson McDaniel.
I'm waiting because James told me to.
Let it go till questions.
Yeah, so the direct Facebook stream right now is a little bit not working. There are links on both our Facebook page and YouTube to connect residents. We do notice that from the comments being made, people are linking to it, so just to clarify, if they can't get to the comment section, to go to the village website, and there's a link to connect them to that. And then just to clarify, the phone number came out a little bit garbled for questions. Teresa Reeder is at the administration building, and that's 513-563-2244. Thanks.
Okay, I think we're good. Good afternoon. It is my pleasure to report on Gorman Heritage Farm. So last week I was taking advantage of the beautiful weather that we had, not today. So I was riding my bike down to visit my dad. I cut through the sunflower field and just had to stop and take a few pictures. There are still lots of sunflowers blooming, so it is absolutely gorgeous. It's always a great reminder of how lucky we are to have Gorman Farm right here in Evendale. So make sure that you take some time to stop by, walk the trails, and check out the sunflowers. It's hard to believe, but Gorman Farm is celebrating their 25th year as a nonprofit organization this year. If you would like a souvenir t-shirt to commemorate this 25th anniversary, they are available to purchase at the farm shop. The farm continues to honor Jim and Dorothy Gorman's legacy by welcoming the public to a working farm as it fulfills its mission to educate about agriculture, nutrition, sustainability, and the environment. In 2021, 4,766 children and adults participated in the educational programs, including virtual programs for local schools as well as schools in Cleveland, Columbus, and even in Texas. They held another successful summer camp, which 375 kids enjoyed. Gorman Farm has had a need for more indoor space for their educational programs. This year, they were able to accomplish this goal by acquiring the former UAW Hall in partnership with another local nonprofit, iSpace. Renovations have already started to create a welcoming and functional educational space for both groups. Phase 1 of the renovation is already fully funded, and a capital campaign to help fund the additional phases will begin in the spring of 2022. On the farm, the bank barn restoration is complete. This was a huge project. They will be adding landscaping, and a grand reopening will occur next spring. This year, the farm had a record 402 memberships, including individuals, families, senior families, and grandkids. So as I was riding my bike through the farm the other day, I kind of looked up on the hill and I saw all these like white birds up there. I'm like, what is that? I'm never good with farm. And I'm looking up there, I'm like, oh, those are the turkeys. I'm like, oh my gosh. So of course I had to stop, get my phone out and take a picture. And then I thought, oh, those are the Farm Fresh Thanksgiving turkeys that are available for pre-order on the farm's website. They're a very popular item, and they sell out every year. So if you want one for your Thanksgiving dinner, you might want to get online tonight and order it. They also have pasture-raised frozen chicken available for sale in the farm shop. I've been told that it is absolutely delicious. I guess I need to stop in and buy one to try. The annual row-by-row dinner was held in person this year, and it sold out weeks before the event, with a record 277 people in attendance. The farm raised over $47,000 on this event. Jeff and I attended, and I can definitely say that it was a very hot but very fun night. Thanks to all of those who attended to support Gorman Heritage Farm. The annual Sunflower Festival brought over 6,500 people to the farm, mostly on the beautiful Saturday. It rained on Sunday morning, but people still came to enjoy the event. It cleared up and ended up being a nice Sunday afternoon. Thousands and thousands of beautiful sunflowers were sold to take home. In closing, this is just a reminder that village residents get free daily admission to the farm, but are asked to please stop by the interpretive center to check in so they can keep an accurate count of how many visitors are coming. Residents are also encouraged to become members of and donors to the farm. Information about memberships is available at gormanfarm.org. Members cut as many sunflowers as you can after the Sunflower Festival for only $10. As always, Gorman Heritage Farm is thankful to the Village of Evendale and Evendale residents for your continued support of our neighborhood nonprofit farm. Thank you very much, and now I will introduce Councilman Putoff.
Thank you, Councilman McDaniel. Councilwoman McDaniel, I'm sorry. First of all, I'd like to thank Kim Peelage and the Recreation Department staff for all of their work, creativity, and flexibility in the past year. It has been a real challenge to continue to offer valuable programming to our residents while continuing to monitor and adapt to the COVID-19 pandemic. A few of our successes this year include a beautiful Winter Wonderland display out on the islands on Glendale Milford Road during the colder months. It was very nice and very unexpected. Something that was a little different than we were used to, and I know they were looking for something to replace some of those winter programs or Christmas and winter programs that we had to skip. So they did a great job with that. The Pavilion up here welcomed the Eagles Project this summer, which drew I think our largest crowd in history. I believe we had over 1,300 people at that, and believe it or not, they were spread out. We were spread out all the way up the top. I know Councilperson McDaniel was all the way up at the top next to the fence. We were spread all over the whole area, so it was a wonderful concert, and I believe the drummer is a former Evendale resident. He played baseball here in Evendale back, I think, about the time I was here, so, or playing baseball, playing knothole. All right, once again, I get to report that the Evendale Eagles swim team won the championship for the large team division. How many years in a row is that, Steve? We don't know the exact number, but quite a few. They've done a great job. It's an amazing program. We've had a couple other great successes this year. The D senior baseball team, coached by Scott Burns, clinched the Knothole West Champs title this year. And this just in, actually, I think I received it yesterday. Josh Valentine's boys' wings won the first place in Cincy Central Say and will advance to the state Say tournament November 13th, 14th, 20th, and 21st. So congratulations to all these folks. Phi Lambda Pi celebrated its 62nd year. They graduated 12 very active seniors, and they have 12 new 8th graders that have been coming to the Wednesday night open houses. So that program continues to be a very successful program for our teens. We've had some new folks join us this year. First of all, I'd like to welcome Jack Carmody as our new Phi Lambda Pi teen representative to the Recreation Commission. He came to a meeting and then he was appointed, and he had his first official meeting last week, and his input's really spot on. I mean, he's very valuable, doing a real nice job already. FitMe's took over the operation and management of our fitness center in January. The owner, Michael Meese, is a resident of Evendale. So I'm sure you guys have seen him down and around the fitness center if you utilize that facility. Allison Bishop Nasser was hired to oversee our adult programs and our summer pavilion series. Allison grew up here in Evendale, and her parents, Connie and Ted, still live here. We hired 2 new clerks that joined our team, Alyssa Hayes and DJ Berard. In addition to Lori Kaufman joined our child care team. On a training note, all of our employees were all recertified in CPR and the AED training. We did take care of a couple of equipment and facility needs this year. Our 23-year-old slide at the pool was inspected by Safe Slide out of Missouri. It was found to be in excellent condition. The slide and play features were painted by the company, and they are all ready to go for the 2022 pool season. Our playground restrooms will be updated. I've got at the end of October. Is that still happening? I'm getting a yes. So that must be happening next week because I was in there and they hadn't changed. So I'm assuming that'll be next week, and so those will be updated. And we replaced 5 pre-core ellipticals to replace our well-worn 11-year-old equipment that down in the fitness center. On a final note for recreation, in an effort to compensate our staff fairly and keep up with current needs, we will be increasing wages for our seasonal and part-time staff. At the same time, in 2022, we will be changing the structure of our resident memberships, and there will be some increases in membership and facility rental fees. These fees have not been increased in 17 years, and they will be updated in 2022. All right, the second part of my presentation is the Evendale Cultural Arts Center and Bell Tower Arts Pavilion. I'd also like to thank Susan Gordy, who is our chairman over, what is your title? Director over there at the Cultural Arts Center, and she does a great job without many employees and a lot of volunteers. So thank you, Susan. Again, creativity, flexibility throughout this past year. Both these departments have done a wonderful job of trying to make sure that we have valuable programs still coming out to our residents. What a year this has been. We continue to evolve, change, and be inspired by the arts all around us in Evendale this past year. We offered fewer classes to fewer people those first few months of the year, which gave us time to complete some projects at both of our buildings. The Cultural Arts Center installed new outdoor awnings and new tables, while the Bell Tower Arts Pavilion was transformed into a theater. There is still much work to do, but the new stage and interior colors, the painting inside looks amazing. We continue to go green at the Bell Tower with new LED fixtures throughout the building. We advanced toward ADA compliance at the Cultural Arts Center by working with a new team of architects to design our ADA entrance and elevator. To date, we have secured $250,000 in grants, or in grant funding, to go toward this much-needed improvement. Despite a world of masks, vaccines, and quarantines, the arts programming thrived in Evendale. We delivered 56 arts kits containing 163 art projects to Evendale residents. We hosted 2 virtual performances of The Playhouse in the Park. We welcomed the return of our monthly art ventures this past August with trips to the Fernald Nature Preserve and Terry's Pizza and Ice Cream. Our first in-person indoor exhibit was the annual Evendale Fine Art Exhibit with over 130 paintings on display. Amy Hardman, members of the Queen City Art Club, and our rotating exhibits in the Evendale Art Room at the Evendale Recreation Center, Amy Hardman, members of the Queen City Art Club, and rotating exhibits were held in the Evendale Room at the Evendale Recreation Center. Currently, the pool fence is serving as the backdrop for our annual Evendale juried photo exhibit. So if you haven't had a chance to go see those, for those that are here, right after the meeting, you can walk out there and walk around and take a look at that exhibit if you haven't already. And those that are at home, please come down at your convenience. I believe we're going to leave that up through the end of the month for sure. I think maybe through Election Day, it sounds like. So please come down and take a look at that. Our big art party returned in August, featuring all of our favorite activities and fun while hosting a blockbuster art exhibit curated by Jimmy Jones with 11 of the best artists in Cincinnati on display. Partygoers made a brand new outdoor sculpture public art piece that is currently on display outside the Cultural Arts Center's back entrance. We welcome several new partners to our art family, including New Leaf Kitchen cooking classes, robot inside sewing classes, contours and clay sculpting classes, ukulele camp, creative writing, music theater and acting, and the improv arena. The performing arts thrived on our new stage at the Bell Tower Arts Pavilion. We kicked off the theater season with the Tri-County Players Spring Play and Inspector Calls, followed by our Tippy Toes Spring Dance recitals. July brought our first improv competition, featuring 8 great Cincinnati improv actors competing for the title of King or Queen of Cincinnati Improv. We enjoyed a live concert with Lady Hoya, is that how you say that? Joya, in August, and the premiere of an original play in September called Every Day But Monday. The Tri-County Players return in October with 4 Old Broads, and we look forward to another hilarious improv showdown performance in November. So if you're interested in improv, check out the tickets for that. Thank you to all our residents, artists, and friends who supported and embraced these new events and ways of experiencing the arts. We can't wait to see what new art adventures 2022 will bring. Thank you. And now I'd like to introduce Tom Sextro, who will give us the engineering report.
Good evening, everyone. I'm here to report on service engineering for the village. This department is led by the one and only James Jeffers. The department currently has a staff of 12 people that provides the upkeep and maintenance of approximately 100 acres. This includes the village municipal complex, roadways, parking areas, storm drains, various building facilities within the complex, parks, and land-banked properties. In addition, the department provides supportive services including landscaping, chipping, special pickups, tree trimming, and leaf bag distribution. For example, this department distributed over 1,500 tons of salt this past winter. There are many projects within this service engineering department, so I'm going to list the top 10 projects for this year. The first is Through the Valley, which was the 2-mile stretch of the Interstate 75 improvement through the village of Evendale. This was done by the Ohio Department of Transportation, which is ODOT. And all I can say is hooray, hooray, hooray. Glad it's done. Next is the Glendale-Milford Bridge Towers. The village of Evendale completed the installation of the towers at each end of the Glendale-Milford Bridge, which accomplished the enhanced aesthetics of the bridge where the planning started back in 2015. We consider this the Evendale's front door to the village. Arrowhead Boulevard Phase 2 roadway. This project constructed a roadway from Glendale-Milford Road to Oak Road for expansion of the advanced manufacturing development on property the village owns. This opened up approximately 40 acres for development. In conjunction to that was the Arrowhead Mass Grading Project. The village regraded to create 4 pad-ready sites for potential development containing approximately 30 acres. This project entailed redistributing 60,000 cubic yards of fill dirt on this acreage. One of these lots is currently under construction for the new 50,000 square foot facility of Kinetic Vision, which is scheduled to open in the summer of next year. Duke Energy Central Corridor Pipeline. Duke has nearly completed the installation of the gas main along Glendale Milford Road. Once the main is fully installed, the resurfacing of Glendale Milford Road will be complete. We anticipate this work to be completed by mid-November. The resurfacing will be from curb to curb, from Reading Road to Plainfield Road, which is approximately 1 mile in length. Next project was the Indian Woods, which is a subdivision. There was a culvert replacement. The service department crew replaced a deteriorating 36-inch storm culvert that was on the verge of collapse in the Indian Woods subdivision. Shred Day, which is something we all look forward to. This department assisted in the annual Shred Day on April 24th, including household chemicals and electronic recycling. This year, over 35,000 pounds were collected, which included 7.5 tons of paper, 6 tons of electronics, and 5 tons of household chemicals. LED light replacement. We have ordered new lights and poles for the replacement of the amphitheater outdoor lights to match the remainder of the municipal complex. These will be installed once they are received, which should be shortly. New equipment for this department. The service department received a new dump truck and replaced our street sweeper. In addition, we have ordered a new mow trim tractor system that will be delivered shortly. The mow trim is a tractor-mounted deck mower that we use to maintain the severe slopes areas within the village. Last but not least is the department foreman transition. Mr. Meckley retired as the service department foreman. He was retained as the chief electrician for the year in order to incorporate the new light signals that were part of the Interstate 75 improvements. Bill will officially retire at the end of this year. We would like to thank Bill for his years of excellent service to the department and the village. Thank you, Bill. Brandon Asbrock was promoted to Service Department Foreman. This change is effective 1st of next year. This concludes my report, and I thank you. Next to report is Mr. Chris Schaefer to report on fire.
Yeah, I have the privilege to report on the activities of the fire department over the last year. Chief Houck was primarily the point person for dealing with COVID restrictions and trying to balance those restrictions with continuing village services. And he says that the fire department appreciates the understanding and patience of the village residents as we respond to this this crisis continually. Since 2021, there have been 51 cases of COVID in the village. There were 2 fire employees that had to quarantine because of COVID. Currently, there's just 3 cases ongoing in the village. The changes of employees in the fire department started in early 2021 with Captain Dennis Brown retiring after 25 years of service. Then firefighter paramedic Wiederhold took a job in a bigger and busier department, and so we had 2 vacancies. So we hired Peter Lovas and Jacob Courtney to be firefighter paramedics to replace these 2 positions, and then we promoted Lieutenant Graham to the captain's position that was vacated by Captain Brown, and we promoted firefighter paramedic Andy Allert to the lieutenant position vacated by Lieutenant Graham. So we got done with that change, and then very recently, Lieutenant Rylage took a position in Tip City as the assistant fire chief, and so now we have to fill that position, and we have a series of promotions as well. So that's those are the changes in the makeup of the department. We've upgraded the fire station with a FEMA grant for a new house alert system and fire alarm system for the fire department itself. The house alert system notifies the Department of Emergencies throughout the department building. It also has a series of tones and loudspeakers and LED lights. The system is expandable and should be the state-of-the-art system for some time. Its capabilities are only constrained by the colors of the lights. Currently, when there is an alarm, a red light means it's going to be a fire run, a blue light means it's going to be an EMS run. The fire alarm system also protects the firefighters because it will alert the firefighters to anything, smoke, fire, carbon monoxide, any of those type of emergencies within the building. The upgrades to equipment have been limited to replacing the thermal imaging cameras. The new cameras are faster and more powerful and more accurate, and some of the uses of those cameras are to find people in smoke-filled structures and also finding hot spots when the fire appears to be out. Sometimes there's still a hot spot in a wall or in a ceiling, and these cameras help the firefighter clear the scene and make sure that it's not going to rekindle. Training. The fire department always focuses on training for new hazards and to upgrade their responses to different emergencies. So far in 2021, there have been 3,144 hours of training of the workforce. That works out to be 125 hours per employees. Next year, we have some future expenditures planned depending on grants. We want to remodel the firehouse and update some of the equipment that's more than 15 years old and might soon be out of compliance with national standards. And so that's our report for the fire department. And next up is Jeff Albrecht to talk about village finances.
Thank you, Chris. I've been instructed to move this up a little bit. The finance report, it's often on the department that we don't see every day. The finance department, though, and obviously the revenues are what make every other department go. I've been presenting the annual financial report now for many years, and no prior summary has been more significant than this past year. With COVID, we've had businesses closed or seen reduction in personnel. We've also had, in addition to the impact of the pandemic, the criteria for collecting earnings tax may be changing if some in the legislature up in Columbus have their way. So we've really had to review finances at a different level. For the first time in years, we are really facing the uncertainty of many sources of revenue. It's an unknown. We've always been able to rely and assume that certain revenues were going to be their earnings tax, and we're comfortable with where we would be financially. We'd always budget and with the expectation, very comfortable expectation, that revenues are just going to show up at our doorstep, and that's no longer the case. Fortunately, however, we've consistently budgeted revenues and expenses if we were going to face a crisis. Over the years, I've reported that we've always underestimated revenue in our budgeting process and always made sure that we budgeted expenses consistent with that very conservative estimate of income. So what does the budget process really look like? Unlike many people in their own family or businesses, the public process of budgeting is much more detailed. The village has approximately 30 to 35 different sources of income, many of the corresponding restrictions on use. Revenue generated by a certain department may be limited to a specific use within that department, so it doesn't all go into just one big pot and we just spend it freely as we perceive the need. All revenues then is tracked based on those limiting factors. As for spending, unlike your personal budget and the budget of most businesses, every penny spent must be accounted for. All payroll, supplies, repairs, capital expenditures, and anything else that may be purchased or expensed must fall under one of those line items. Every department that submits to council their proposed budget that may include between 40 to 60 specific categories. So we have to track every penny, every item within every department, within every category. If the funds under one item are exhausted and any future purchase or expense under that item cannot occur without the subsequent approval of council. So again, very strict accountability when we're talking about public funds. Every year, council then reviews and scrutinizes each line item. We'll be going through that in a little bit more detail in the next month or two for 2022. You know, most of the expenses, as you would expect, are very easy. They're the same year in and year out with a modest increase due to inflation and such. But anything that's changing or change of circumstances require a lot more scrutiny. In the end, council will approve that budget going into the next year. So why do I mention what is probably very boring to many? Nobody likes budgeting. It's not fun. It's the budgeting process and our conservative approach over the last many years. I've been on council now almost 20, and we've always been that way. It's my understanding that Evendale has always been one to budget very conservatively. That's allowed us to accumulate the surplus that has allowed us to weather the COVID pandemic and some of these other unknowns and unanticipated reductions in revenue. We've accumulated a surplus of approximately over $20 million. That's in all different funds. The accumulated surplus, again, has allowed us to weather, and be prepared for that rainy day. The 2021 figures, a lot of people are interested in really where we are today, as far as what are the revenues. The receipts through September, as expected, are about $866,000 less than last year, so down quite a bit. However, they are still in line with how we budgeted, as I mentioned earlier, conservative budgeting. Typically, revenues are always exceeding what we budget, what we think we're going to bring in. And this is no different, other than in years past, we've always exceeded the budget. Now, it's closer to where that line will be. We're hoping to meet our budget. It's not sure. It's about $14.5 million per year, and we're hoping that it's going to come in right about that. Maybe a little short, but we're going to be close. Where in years past, sometimes we'd be $1 million over. The most important, however, and this is the result of the careful budgeting, is that receipts, the revenues, still exceed expenditures by over $620,000. So again, we're not getting as much money, we're not receiving as much revenue as we thought. However, we're still staying in the black as to operations and running the day-to-day business of the village. This, again, conservative approach and how we budgeted and how we've been able to build the surplus and how we've approached spending within the village has allowed us to maintain village operations without any real downturn in the ability of what we can provide each and every resident, whether it's fire, police, rec, service, cultural arts. We've been able to service without anybody ever really noticing that there's been a reduction in revenue. And we hope that that revenue starts to increase. The mayor reported with GE and everything and activity, hopefully that's ramping back up. We will continue to budget very conservatively, both on the anticipated revenue as well as we try to meet the needs of each department, the financial part. As I stated earlier, each and every of these departments, we appreciate them at different levels by different people, but it's the revenue and it's the department that tracks all the money and the expenses that makes it all go. So I want to thank Cynthia Karachi, because our Director of Finance, she's the one that tracks all that, and I'm always amazed at how she can state by memory often each line item as we question a certain expense or whether we have funds in a certain line item for a potential expenditure, and she'll tell us often by memory that no, you don't have enough money in that account, and we'll have to move money from this account. And she does a phenomenal job, so I just wanted to make sure I recognized her and everything she does in the finance department. Thank you. And last but not least, Carolyn Smiley Robertson on the police.
Now, I have to lower it a little bit so that you'll be able to hear me. Okay. I want to first start off with one of the more significant activities that the department conducted this year, which was the review of the use of force policies and reports. The review was conducted by the mayor and our council committee that supports and has oversight responsibilities for the police department. And given the events of the past 2 years, it gave both the police department and elected officials the opportunity to share both understanding and expectations. And I would like to thank the chief for his leadership and our department for their excellence and professionalism in dealing with use of force incidents. I think it's one of the things that makes our department stand out as an excellent police department. Part of the reason we're able to do that is because of our emphasis on training, and this year it was a continued effort to stress training that addresses communication and problem solving. This training has included responding to excited delirium, which has been in the news over the past couple of years, a response to people in crisis, as well as scenario-based training that incorporates skills such as judgment-making, de-escalation, and proper use of force. This year, like last year, there have been some major personnel changes in the police department. Two of the department's lieutenants, Jeff McDaniel and Joe Asbrock, retired. And with those retirements came promotional opportunities, so we went through a process and conducted interviews and testing for this position, and we ended up promoting to Lieutenant Tim Holloway and Sean McKinney to fill those roles. And then given the tenure of the remaining supervisors and the department structure, Mayor and council supported the promotion of Lieutenant Steve Niehauser to Assistant Chief. So all of this activity resulted in us creating a vacancy. So we hired Officer Andrew Schramm in June, I believe, of this year. And Officer Schramm completed his Scarlet Oaks Police Academy training in April and received praise from the Academy instructors for his work ethic and leadership. So even though we've turned over command staff, we're still very much so an excellent and strong department. Crime that has occurred over the past year is consistent with what you've heard in previous years, that most of the response calls are from residents as well as our business partners are for property crimes, especially thefts. The most prominent call on the business side is retail theft, and most frequently from our residents is persons entering their unlocked vehicles. A major investigation that was conducted this year was for a major fraud case. After the initial arrest for forgery offense at the Fifth Third Bank, the department began an investigation that included significant time with our local law enforcement officers and the prosecutor's office. What resulted was a 40-count indictment for 5 suspects in a fraud ring who, over the course of many months, made fraudulent deposits of over $200,000. The department also worked with our federal partners to recover $167,000 that a business wired overseas after their email was hacked. Both of these cases serve to illustrate the importance of guarding and monitoring personal information, financial information, internet security, and transactions. On another note, I would like to point out that we have a new records management system this year called PL9. And this is the quiz for the day. So the reason it's called PL9 is after Sir Robert Peel, who is recognized as the father of modern policing. The benefits of PL9 is that it's a cloud-based system. It allows us to go nearly paperless, and as important as that is that it allows our department to readily share information with our surrounding communities. So remember Sir Robert Peel. Other services offered by the department that I want to make sure residents know that you can take advantage of is what was previously mentioned, the annual Shred Day, vacation home checks, residential security analysis, and prescription drug drop box. And I would like to also close, but before I close, I want to say there's usually pressure of dinner. There is no dinner this year. I did not make my report any longer since I had more time and less pressure, but that's where we are. In closing, however, I would like to quote the chief. His message is, as always, we recognize that our ability to be an effective law enforcement body is altogether dependent upon our communication with the residents and businesses we serve. We are proud of the relationships we have within the community and encourage everyone to keep that dialogue open. And having been on the committee and chair the committee with the police department, I want all residents and businesses to be assured that their safety is our utmost concern and is being taken care of by a very, very excellent department. So kudos to Chief Neil Cordy and the rest of the police department in Evendale. Thank you. Now, I wasn't told who to pass it on to, but I do know it's Q&A, so I'm assuming the mayor is up again.
Okay. Time for you all to chip in with us. We had one question that was emailed in by, I believe, Mike Lohmeyer. He asked for how much the towers were over on Glendale Milford Road were costing, and the total cost is $3,421,000. The commitment of those funds was made at the beginning of the ODOT process. Councilman Albrink talked about that in 2017 when we committed that money, and we feel that it gives us a good front door. Now, are there any other questions from the audience, or have we had any phoned-in questions? No phoned-in questions. Yes, sir.
Please have him come to the mic so it's captured. Thank you.
In Bill's report for the recreation, he mentioned AED training. Can you tell us what AED stands for?
AED? Kim? The fire chief is, you've stumped us.
It's the defibrillator. It's a defibrillator, but I don't know the specifics.
The fire chief's coming to the microphone.
It is the automated external defibrillator.
Okay. That's it. That's it. Any other questions? If not, I will,
We've received no questions or comments on, other than at the time of the bell tower has been corrected, and it has, so
okay.
that's it.
All right. I will then declare this meeting closed. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none. This town meeting is adjourned.